Imagine yourself standing on the edge of a vast, restless ocean, watching the waves crash against a towering cliff. The water is chaotic, loud, and unrelenting, smashing against the stone with tremendous force. Yet the cliff remains silent. It does not scream back at the waves, it does not argue with the storm, and it does not try to outshout the wind. It simply stands there, ancient, solid, and immovable. The noise of the ocean eventually fades, the tide pulls back, and the storm passes, but the cliff remains exactly where it was, unchanged and unbroken. This image is the essence of the philosophy we are about to explore together, a journey into the heart of an ancient wisdom that teaches us that the greatest power a human being can possess is not found in the loudness of their voice, but in the depth of their silence. We live in a world that is addicted to noise, a world where everyone is talking, shouting, typing, and broadcasting their every thought, fearing that if they are not heard, they do not exist. We are told from a young age that we must speak up, that we must win the argument, that we must have the last word to show our strength. But the Stoic philosophers, those wise men of ancient Greece and Rome, understood a different truth. They realized that true power is not about imposing your will on the world with noise, but about possessing a mind that cannot be shaken by the noise of others. Let us begin this journey by looking at the way we live our daily lives, often trapped in a cycle of reaction. Think about the last time someone said something that offended you, perhaps a harsh comment from a colleague, a rude remark from a stranger, or a misunderstanding with a loved one. What was the first thing you felt? It was likely a surge of heat in your chest, a rapid beating of your heart, and an almost irresistible urge to speak, to defend yourself, to correct them, to hurt them back. This is the human instinct, the ego screaming for validation. But let us pause right there in that heated moment and invite the spirit of Epictetus into the room. Epictetus was a man who knew suffering, born into slavery, a man who had no power over his own body for much of his life, yet he became one of the freest men in history because he mastered his own mind. He would gently remind us that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. This is not just a clever saying about anatomy, it is a profound instruction on how to interact with reality. When we rush to speak, we are often rushing to defend an image of ourselves that we are afraid is fragile. But when we choose silence, we are doing something active, not passive. We are stepping back from the chaos to observe the truth. Consider the energy we waste on words that do not matter. We explain ourselves to people who do not want to understand us. We argue with strangers on the internet who will never change their minds. And we complain about the weather, the traffic, and the government, pouring our vital life force into a void that gives nothing back. Seneca, another great Stoic thinker, who was one of the richest and most powerful men in Rome, warned us about this squandering of time and spirit. He observed that we act as if we are going to live forever, wasting our hours on petty disputes and meaningless chatter, forgetting that death is standing right behind us. If you knew that you only had a limited amount of words left to speak in your lifetime, would you waste them on a petty argument about who left the dishes in the sink, or would you save them for words of love, wisdom, and truth? Silence acts as a filter. When you become comfortable with silence, you begin to realize that most of what you wanted to say didn't need to be said. It was just your ego trying to prove it was there. By remaining silent, you save your energy for the battles that actually matter, and you preserve your peace of mind, which is the most valuable treasure you own. Let us go deeper into the nature of insults and conflict. For this is where silence becomes a weapon of self-defense. Imagine a scenario where someone insults you to your face. They call you incompetent or lazy or foolish. The air grows tense, and everyone watching waits for your reaction. The script of society tells you that you must get angry, you must raise your voice, you must crush them with a witty comeback. But imagine instead that you look at them with total calm, saying nothing, your face relaxed, your breathing steady. In that moment, something powerful shifts. By refusing to accept their anger, you leave it with them. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king who ruled the Roman Empire, faced constant betrayal, criticism, and the immense pressure of war and plague. He wrote to himself in his personal journals that the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. If you scream back at an angry person, you have become just like them. You have lowered yourself to their vibration, and you have let them control your emotional state. But if you remain silent, you maintain your dignity. You show them that their words are like arrows being shot at a stone wall. They bounce off harmlessly. The silence creates a mirror. When you do not react, the aggressor is left alone with their own ugliness, and their anger bounces back onto them. They expect resistance, and when they find none, they lose their balance. This is the strength of the Stoic, to be the rock that the waves break over, not the leaf that is blown about by every wind. This power of silence is not just about dealing with others, it is even more critical when dealing with ourselves. We all have a voice in our heads, a constant narrator that judges, worries, fears, and complains. This internal noise can be more deafening than any crowded city street. We lay awake at night, replaying old conversations, dreading future events that haven't happened yet, and criticizing our own mistakes. This is where the practice of external silence begins to heal the internal mind. When you stop adding to the noise of the world, when you stop engaging in gossip, when you stop complaining, you start to quiet the beast within. You begin to see that you are not your thoughts, you are the observer of your thoughts. This is a subtle but life-changing distinction. When you practice silence, you create a gap between the thinker and the thought. In that gap, you find freedom. You realize that just because a thought says, "I am not good enough," or "they hate me," you do not have to believe it, and you certainly do not have to speak it into existence. You can simply let it pass, like a cloud floating across a blue sky. The sky does not grab the cloud, it allows it to float by. Your mind is the sky, and your thoughts are just weather. Silence is the wind that clears the sky. Let's bring this into the modern world, a world of constant digital noise. We carry devices in our pockets that buzz and beep every few minutes, demanding our attention, tempting us to join the millions of conversations happening every second on social media. We see a post that makes us angry, and our fingers hover over the keyboard, ready to type a furious response. We feel a righteous indignation, a need to correct the stranger on the other side of the screen. But what if we applied Stoic silence here? What if we realized that scrolling past is an act of power? When you engage in online battles, you are giving away your peace to an algorithm and a stranger. You are letting your emotions be hijacked by pixels on a screen. The Stoic realizes that the opinion of the crowd is worthless if it is not based on reason. Why should we care if 1,000 people misunderstand us as long as we know our own heart? To be silent in the digital age is an act of rebellion. It is a declaration that your attention is yours, that your peace is not for sale,
and that you do not need the validation of likes and comments to know your worth. It takes immense strength to put the phone down, to sit in a quiet room and just be. Pascal, a later philosopher, famously said that all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. The Stoics knew this centuries before. They knew that if you cannot be at peace with yourself in silence, you will never find peace anywhere else, no matter where you travel or who you are with.
This brings us to the concept of authority. Have you ever noticed that in a room full of people, the one who talks the most is rarely the one who holds the most power? The person who is constantly explaining, bragging, and interrupting is often displaying insecurity. They are terrified of silence because in silence they might have to face themselves. On the other hand, consider the person who sits back, listens intently, and speaks only when they have something of value to add. When that person finally speaks, everyone listens. Their words carry weight because they are not diluted by a flood of nonsense. Silence builds anticipation. It builds mystery. It signals that you are in control of yourself, and if you can control yourself, others naturally feel that you can lead them. This is the charisma of the Stoic leader. They do not lead with loud commands, but with a quiet, unshakable example. They are not easily rattled. When a crisis hits, while others are panicking and shouting, the Stoic is silent, assessing the situation, thinking clearly, and preparing the right action. Silence is the soil in which wisdom grows. You cannot learn while you are talking. You cannot observe reality while you are projecting your own narrative onto it. By remaining silent, you gather information. You understand the nuances of the situation, and when you do act, your action is precise and effective. But silence is not just about utility or power. It is about connecting with the deeper flow of life. The Stoics believed in the logos, the rational ordering principle of the universe. They believed that everything happens for a reason and that nature unfolds as it should. When we are constantly making noise, complaining about how things should be, we are fighting against reality. We are like a swimmer trying to swim upstream against a mighty river, exhausting ourselves for nothing. Silence is the act of turning around and floating with the current. It is an acceptance of what is. This doesn't mean we become passive victims. It means we accept the external events we cannot control so that we can focus our energy on the one thing we can control, our own response. When you stop complaining about the rain, you can appreciate the water it brings to the earth. When you stop complaining about the traffic, you can use the time to reflect or listen to something educational. Silence transforms obstacles into opportunities because it removes the layer of emotional resistance that makes life so difficult. Think of the relationships in your life. How many arguments could have been avoided if one person had simply chosen silence instead of the sharp retort? How much more understood would your loved ones feel if you listened to them without planning your response while they were still speaking? True listening is a form of love. It is giving someone your full, empty presence. It is saying, "I am here, I am silent, and I am letting your words enter my mind without judgment." This deep listening is rare in our world, and it is a gift that can heal relationships. The Stoics taught that we are social animals, meant to work together, like the feet, hands, and eyelids of a body.
When we shout over each other, the body fights itself. When we listen in silence, the body harmonizes. It requires humility to be silent. It requires you to admit that you might not know everything, that your opinion might not be necessary right now, and that the other person's perspective is worth hearing. This humility is not self-deprecation. It is the confidence of a mind that is open to growth.
Now, let us address the fear of silence. Many of us are afraid of the quiet, because in the quiet, our demons surface. The regrets of the past, the fears of the future, the loneliness of the present, they all wait for us in the silence. This is why we turn on the TV the moment we get home, why we put in headphones the moment we step outside, why we fill every gap in conversation. We are running away from ourselves. But the Stoic tells us that we must turn and face the silence. We must sit with the discomfort. If you feel lonely in the silence, it is a sign that you have not yet made friends with yourself. You are in bad company. The goal is to cultivate an inner garden so rich and beautiful that you delight in being alone in it. When you can sit in a room alone and feel completely content, you are invincible. No one can take that away from you. You are no longer dependent on the external world for your happiness. You have found the inner citadel that Marcus Aurelius spoke of, the fortress inside you that can never be breached unless you leave the gates open. Silence is the key to locking those gates. Imagine a master craftsman at work. They do not rush, they do not chatter, they work with a focused, quiet intensity. Every movement is deliberate. This is how we should approach the craft of living. Life is an art, and we are the sculptors of our own character. If we are constantly distracted by the noise of the market, our hand slips and we mar the stone. But if we work in the silence of self-awareness, we can carve a character that is beautiful, strong, and resilient. Silence allows us to be intentional. Before you take an action, pause. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Is this virtuous? Is this true? That tiny pause, that moment of silence, is the difference between a life of regret and a life of wisdom. It is in that space that we choose who we want to be. There is a profound strength in being the one who does not need to explain. In a society that demands transparency and oversharing, keeping your plans and your progress to yourself is a source of power. When you broadcast your goals to everyone, you get a hit of dopamine, a false sense of accomplishment, but you dissipate the energy needed to actually achieve them. The Stoics advise us to just do the work. Don't tell everyone you are going to read more philosophy, just read. Don't tell everyone you are going to get in shape, just exercise. Let the results speak for you. Results have a voice that is louder than any speech. When you work in silence, you build a pressure inside you, a driving force that pushes you forward. You are not performing for an audience, you are performing for your own standard of excellence. This builds self-respect. You know what you are doing, and that is enough. You do not need the applause of the crowd to know you are on the right path. Let us also consider the power of silence in the face of tragedy and loss. When life deals us a heavy blow, when we lose someone we love or face a great failure, words often fail us. The platitudes people offer, "It will be okay," "Time heals all wounds," often feel hollow. The Stoic response to grief is not to suppress it, but to sit with it in silence, to acknowledge the pain without adding a narrative of victimhood to it, to accept that this is part of nature. In silence we find the strength to endure.
We realize that we are part of a much larger cycle of life and death, and that our smallness is not a reason for despair, but a reason for peace. We are like waves returning to the ocean. The wave does not cry out when it crashes, it simply becomes the ocean again. Silence connects us to the eternal. When we stop talking, we can hear the rhythm of the universe. We can feel the connection to all living things. As we move toward the conclusion of this meditation, think about how you can integrate this silence into your tomorrow. It does not mean you must take a vow of silence and move to a monastery. It means bringing small pockets of peace into your chaotic day. It means that when you wake up, instead of grabbing your phone, you spend 5 minutes just breathing and setting your intention for the day. It means that when you are driving, you turn off the radio and just drive. It means that when someone irritates you, you take one deep breath before you respond. These small moments accumulate. They build a reservoir of calm within you. Over time, you will find that the noise of the world affects you less and less. You will walk through the storm, but the storm will not be in you. You will be the eye of the hurricane, calm, clear, and powerful, while everything spins around you. Remember the cliff and the ocean. Be the cliff. Let the insults, the chaos, the demands, and the noise crash against you, and let them fall away, leaving you standing tall. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers. It is not a weakness. It is the ultimate proof of self-mastery. In a world that cannot stop talking, the person who can remain silent is the one who will truly be heard. This is the path of the Stoic. It is a quiet path, a steep path, but it is the path that leads to true freedom. As you step away from this story and back into your life, take this silence with you. Guard it, cherish it, use it. And if you found value in this moment of reflection, if you feel a little more ready to face the world with a quiet mind, then I invite you to join us on this journey. Support this channel by liking this video, sharing it with someone who needs a moment of peace, and subscribing to our community. Let us walk this path of wisdom together, not with loud proclamations, but with the quiet, steady strength of those who know that silence is indeed power.